The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
It's a persistent sadness that can last for an extended period of time. There are feelings of worthlessness, guilt, and disinterest. It's a disease called depression, and for millions of people, it can make life not worth living. Today, several people will share their stories of suffering and recovery from depression. So stay tuned as we explore this topic on this very special edition of Today's Health. This program is brought to you by an educational grant from Pfizer.
The endless torment of persistent sadness can plunge a person into a living hell, where life has no joy, no laughter, and death looks like the only way out. Many people locked in this emotional dungeon feel it's their own fault or a character flaw on their part, but it's not. They're suffering from a medical illness called major depression. Hello, I'm Faith Daniels, and this is Today's Health. In this special edition, we'll explore major depression and highlight some of the ways it can be treated. Recent understanding of this illness has helped shed new light that hopefully will be the beginning of the end of the darkness.
There were days where I just felt worthless. I felt like I felt hopeless. I felt that my husband would be better off without me.
Many times I thought about it would be easier to die, to just get out of the pain, to give up on life.
About 8 months ago, I started losing interest in things, in activities, in my family.
When Patricia Detweiler had her first signs of depression, life started to become very different.
I just was out of touch. I started keeping to myself more and isolating myself from events.
Everyone experiences sadness or a feeling of blue at times. When these feelings persist, the suspect is often depression. But what is depression? The ill-informed might say it's all in your head. Yet for psychiatrists and psychologists, an accurate definition would also be a serious one.
The depression that gets severe enough to take on medical character can be very debilitating.
At Cleveland Clinic, Florida, Dr. Mark Strickland treats the two most common types of depression, unipolar and bipolar.
If somebody during the course of their lifetime only experiences depressions, they may have a recurrence of a depression years down the road, months down the road, but if they only get depressed, that would be a unipolar depression, going only in one direction. If somebody has depressions and may occasionally have high spells or manic episodes, that would be a bipolar affective or mood disorder.
It's believed that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. When someone has a low mood, there is a change in the level of a neurotransmitter called serotonin. Frank Ploner, a professor at St. Thomas University, was diagnosed with depression 4 years ago. Starting the day out was often the most difficult part.
When you're depressed, when you wake up in the morning, you don't want to get out of bed. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to force yourself to get out of, or I had to force myself, which is what I did, to get out of bed and to go through my routine in the morning and get myself to work, which is a hard thing to do, to get myself out the door and to get down to the office and face the day.
I just felt like I would never have me again. The family would never have me. I just couldn't get out of it. So where did I go? I stayed in my room. Most of my days were spent in my bedroom. And then there were days where I just felt worthless. I felt like I felt hopeless. I felt that my husband would be better off without me and my kids. I talked to members of my family and said, if anything should happen to me, would you raise the girls, because I don't think I'm going to get through this.
There's a difference between having like a down day or a down few days or having a setback. Everybody does that, and you work through it. But depression is something else. It's like being in quicksand, and every time you think you're going to get out of something like that, you get pulled back into it.
For Frank, depression is like quicksand. For others, it's a dark hole, perhaps mental imprisonment. However vivid the loneliness, depression is not something you can simply snap out of. It's a relentless down feeling that goes on for an extended period of time. The symptoms can range from unexplained crying spells to social withdrawal, and in many cases, deep thoughts of suicide.
Suicide is a common issue when you're struggling with major depression. Many people begin to feel like their life is no longer worth living and become fairly overwhelmed by this set of symptoms. In fact, major depression is the #1 reason why people end up killing themselves.
I would just sit and think about dying, think about not living, think about I can't go on. I don't know why, I had no idea why I felt that way, but all I thought about was I don't want to live, and it was totally consuming. I would say to my husband, I feel like just going in the car, turning it on, and getting you guys out of your pain.
There's a lot of denial. A lot of people don't want to be sick. They don't want to have a mental illness. Most people don't want to have a medical illness. It's very hard to get people to take hypertension or blood sugar seriously, but certainly depression at times is worse.
To ease the pain of depression, many become dependent on drugs and alcohol. The stigma of mental illness, however, prevents too many people from getting help. Depression can occur at any age and affects all races. Elderly white males in particular have the highest rate of suicide from depression.
The elderly white males will be at high risk, especially those who are widowed, those who may be estranged or isolated from their families, those with physical problems, a loss of mobility, a loss of independence.
Among men and women, however, depression does not fare equally.
We now think that approximately 21% of women will go through a depression during their lifetime, and about 13% of men. So it's much, much more common in women than it is in men.
Depression can be successfully treated in 80% of cases. The key is in recognizing this is an illness, not just an attack of the blues. Seeking medical attention is extremely important and the beginning of a recovery. When we return,
Medication is very often quite effective with major depressive disorders.
along with medication, a program of psychotherapy and support can help heal the mental scars. Coming up.
How do you turn on a light in a life shrouded by darkness? It's not as easy as just flipping a switch or taking a pill, but it can be done. Many people paralyzed by major depression are being successfully treated. The recovery from this illness usually requires medication, psychotherapy, and time. But of course, the person suffering must first ask for help.
I've never felt like this before in my life, so that's why I thought maybe something physically was wrong with me, you know, that I needed to have, that I was just needed a checkup.
When people suffer from depression, seeking professional help is usually considered unnecessary. Instead, that first visit to the doctor often triggers new hope. For Patricia Detweiler, the decision to see Dr. Strickland was a start.
How you been sleeping?
I can't sleep. I haven't slept for a couple of months. He sat me down and he said, I just want to tell you, you're depressed, and you're depressed with a capital D. You have big-time depression.
In almost all cases of depression, antidepressants are prescribed. Unfortunately, they are not without side effects.
Some of the medications that have been used in the past have had a lot of side effects. They were effective, but they had to be run at a fairly substantial dose, which would usually lead to side effects of dry mouth, constipation, blurred vision, tiredness.
In 1988, a second generation of antidepressants, like Zoloft, became available. They were chemically different and offered fewer side effects.
The newer medicines have so many fewer side effects that they are basically packaged or dosed in full therapeutic doses.
By about 3 months, I really noticed I'm up, I'm showered, I'm schooling, I'm making the kids lunch again, you know, I'm making dinners again. We're starting to have a home again.
In order to heal psychologically, a program of psychotherapy and support is vital. There are 3 types of psychotherapy: behavioral, which focuses on current behavior; cognitive, the study of thoughts and beliefs; and interpersonal, which examines relationships. Blanche Freund, an associate professor of psychiatry at the University of Miami, evaluates how mind distortions can complicate the depression.
They catastrophize, so they blow it out of proportion. They crystal ball it, or they fortune tell it. They think the worst is going to happen. They are what I call black and white thinking. Everything is this or that.
Support also plays a crucial part in a person's recovery. Solid support from family, friends, even coworkers.
My role in the university is to be available to people. He took advantage of that in a very positive way.
At St. Thomas University, Ed Blackwell has been a colleague of Frank Ploner for 5 years. Whenever Frank spoke about his depression, Ed had an ear to lend.
Rather than me speaking to him, a more appropriate frame for that is that I let him talk to me.
Susan Angulo, another longtime colleague and friend, also offered support.
And, you know, most of his worries and things were valid, and I'd listen to him and I'd say, yeah, but think about the things that we've been through together. You know, think about how you survived going through the doctoral program when you were losing your job and your mother was ill and all the other things that have happened, and you can get through this.
Luckily, I had people at work who I could turn to, who when I was having a bad day, I could go in and see them or talk to them, and they were there at least to listen.
For Patricia, good support did not only come from family and friends. Her pastor, Jan Saddam, provided spiritual guidance.
I've known Tricia for 7 years now, ever since I've been the pastor of the church. And during that time period, I would say that she is one of the highest energy people in our congregation. When she walks into a room, she's a very bright light. And so when that light doesn't shine, people notice it. I think what I want to tell you is that while it appears very, very dark, that the church is here for you. You have a great group of friends. You have a terrific family. And you're going to make it.
It's not always easy to understand what a person suffering from depression is actually going through. At times, trying to help can be frustrating.
My husband, although he's never been depressed, rather than pulling away from me and saying, I can't deal with you, he just would come and he'd sit with me and cry with me too and say, you know, I wish that there was something that I could do for you to help you get over this.
I remember another time when it was, I think, a Friday, and Dr. Strickland was planning on going away that weekend, and you were at one of your worst times. Then I came home to see how you were doing. No one was home, and actually I looked in the garage to see if you were in the garage, and then you came home. You were out.
To help patients comply with their therapy, support programs exist, like the Rhythms program from Pfizer. It's designed to coincide with the rhythm of recovery and continues over a 28-week period. The patient receives literature and a computer disk that provides information on depression, how it is treated, and the proper use of medication.
I was taking the medication. I had support from my family and my friends. I adjusted my diet. And I was exercising, and I was also getting involved with people and doing things. So it was really a combination. My life is kind of, it goes along pretty nicely. I'm happy with my life now.
Going through it last year, I never thought that I would say that it was good that I went through what I went through, but it was good that our whole family went through what we went through, I think, because it brought us closer. It brought us stronger in our faith. It brought my husband and I closer together in our marriage. It brought a new appreciation for my children. My whole family just surrounded me with love and support, and that's why I'm here and able to talk about it.
Depression is a disease that can be frightening, not only for the person with the illness, but for family and friends. We'll meet two people who overcame the suffering and are rebuilding their lives. These compelling stories are next on Today's Health.
Medication, psychotherapy, and support can help heal the mind and body, but major depression can take an enormous toll on the patient's lives and those of their loved ones. No recovery can be complete until the wounds can be mended, hurt feelings soothed, and relationships repaired. To understand this, let's meet the friends and family of two people on the road to recovery.
They were unfamiliar feelings for Arthur Ellis, yet in time, those feelings monopolized his mind, alluding to the possibilities of depression.
The signs that something was wrong for me was the sense of isolation from others, I think short temper, feeling sad.
When Art was depressed, it was like he wasn't here. It was like he just wasn't here. He would come in and he would just close himself in his room. Getting any interaction out of him was difficult.
Arthur's wife, Cindy, began noticing he was eating and sleeping less. His sense of humor was diminishing, and certain life changes only seemed to complicate his condition.
Within a very short period of time, I had moved across country. My mother had died, and I was laid off as a result of a merger of two corporations. That all happened within 18 months.
In 1992, a powerful hurricane swept through southeast Florida, causing devastating losses to many homeowners. One in particular was Lori Rivera, and the losses incurred triggered her signs of depression.
I was extremely teary. I couldn't sleep at night. I lost interest in food.
Lori was eventually diagnosed as a manic depressive. During her darkest days, she neglected almost everything and confined herself to the bedroom. Her son David remembers it well.
She'd just lie in bed thinking, I don't know about what, but she didn't want to be bothered, and we mostly stayed out of her way when she was in that kind of a mood.
For Lori, her depression got so bad, the thought of killing herself became all too real.
I got to a point with the depression where all I wanted to do was die. I could tell you 100 reasons why my family would be better off without me, and that I shouldn't have to go through this anymore. And I started studying how to kill oneself.
I felt bad that she wanted to kill herself, because I thought that even though she was in such a depressed state, that she might want to hang in there because of her kids and family.
As always with depression, getting help is the important first step to recovery.
The trigger to get help for me, I think, was exhaustion. I was just absolutely fed up with feeling this way.
In Lori's case, she started to see a therapist, Dr. Rick Harris, in an effort to take back control of her life.
Lori's treatment has been a process over 5 years for her. Initially, her treatment really focused on stabilizing the depression.
Immediately, when I spoke with my doctor, my therapist, we realized that it was much more serious, and my therapist helped to arrange in-home care for me, and they changed the meds, and in fairly short order, I started pulling out of it.
You know, I think the thing that I remember most about you being depressed is you coming home every night and going into the study and just kind of withdrawing and not being available, and maybe just coming out to get something to eat and then going back in there.
Is there anything that's been the most significant thread that has run through your therapy for you?
Learning to take what things to take on and what things I have no control over has been extremely helpful. Okay. I feel like I've gotten clarity in the last 6 months, Before, I was just pulling and pulling to be able to perform physical tasks or to go to work on a daily basis or whatever. But now I'm getting clarity. I feel like in my brain things are more clear, my direction for the future is more clear, and I'm taking control again.
One day at a time. When's your next appointment?
Now I think it's looking like it's dawn, and things look a heck of a lot brighter. I think the combination of frequent talk therapy and medications has allowed me to get my arms around the problems. They don't solve the problems, and for me it wasn't like a light switch. You know, you take a pill and boom, you feel better. It has been I think a progression of small feeling betters just adding up to, you know, right now feeling pretty good.
Arthur continues to do well. His experience with depression has sparked a new appreciation of life, and his relationship with his wife Cindy is now stronger than ever. As for Lori, 7 months ago she started working as a patient advocate in the psychiatry department of a local hospital. She is determined to help other people who are first learning how to deal with their depression. And her life? It couldn't be better.
If you're on the internet already or thinking about it, you'll be amazed at how much information there is concerning your health and well-being. For a good start, visit our Today's Health website at www.vstar.com. Major depression doesn't have to be a life sentence into a dungeon of misery and despair. If a person has the courage to ask for help, medication, psychotherapy, and support can unlock this mental prison cell and set a person free so that they once again can enjoy all the wonders life has to offer. I'm Faith Daniels. For more information about anything we covered today, log on to our website at www.vstar.com. Join us again next time as we get right to the heart of matters concerning your life on Today's Health.
To purchase a complete written transcript or a videotape copy of this or any edition of Today's Health, write to this address or call 1-800-877-7769.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.